What is up, guys? We are back and on another episode. Today, what are we talking about? We're talking about everything rod holders, how much they are, if they're good, if you should buy them. But we're going to dive more into them. So let's get it started. Right off the bat, we have the Fish and Sticks rod holder. This is a glow in the dark rod holder. And then one cool feature about this rod holder is that it expands. So it has a little button. It slides all the way out. So at its lowest feature, it's kind of like that pencil that you get at the book fair when you're in 3rd grade. It's very similar to that, but let's go ahead and measure it at its shortest length. Take a look here. 16.5 inches, and then we'll go fully extendable over the length of this desk. And we are looking at 40 inches. So this is quite the rod holder for you if you are, maybe fishing not just on a bank of a pond, but maybe you are going to the beach or you just anywhere where you want a little more height. Now, keeping in mind when I do say that, with this style rod holder, your rod is just going to be angled like this. So your rod's going to look like that. It's not one that you're going to be able to sit upright. So the height, while it is nice, you're really not going to get too much above that 40-inch mark with the rod holder. So do keep that in mind when you are buying this. Another thing that we do want to talk about is how light this rod holder is and just how small and compact it really is. It's very small. This thing will fit in your bag. You could carry 5 or 6 of these and probably not really even notice it or have too much effect on your carries that you do have. And I do have a scale, so we're going to go ahead and check and see just how light this guy is. Setting it down, we are looking at 4 ounces. So a very light carry for the bag. It does have a small spike for that. So this would be something that if you are kind of in like a rocky area, this would be a really good spot because you don't need a whole lot of room that maybe like a big spike would require you to have. And it is light, so it's easier to staff through than having a wide spike that carries a lot more space but requires a lot more pressure to get down. So being able to change the height is really nice. I like that. I love how light this is. And then being able to glow in the dark. I know a lot of you guys do a lot of night fishing. So this would be a really, really great tool just to have because it does light up. And so if you are someone that doesn't have a clicker, or maybe not even just a loud clicker, but being able to see your rod holder at night so that you don't leave it, which is a mistake that I make all the time, is really nice. So I really do like that feature. Now, some of the drawbacks to this rod holder is just the make of it. While it is extendable, if you are someone that is in a saltier area, if you're fishing in bays or beaches, things like that where this will get salty, you do need to take a lot more care with it. And this rod holder comes in at $10 for 2 of these. So you do need to keep in mind that this is a pretty low-end budget rod holder, and salt is really good at taking out a lot of things. So knowing that you're going to be spending a good amount of time cleaning something that is essentially $4 is something to think about. When these do get rusted on the inside, you can see there are little knobs all along here that you probably can't see, but you got to keep in mind that those will get rusted pretty quickly and will affect how quickly and easily this is to extend and break down, and could get caught. And then you're going to have to deal with just replacing it. So do keep in mind, this is probably not my rod holder that I would use for salt water, but this is a great freshwater rod holder in my opinion. Another drawback to this is that if you are someone who's using a clicker or a bait feeder, anything like that, and you do forget to turn that on, the line release to let the line run freely when you're getting a bite, this will not hold up your rod very long from a fish taking it. I've had, 3-pound channel cats pull my rods in the water. So just because you're fishing on a pond doesn't mean that your gear is safe when using these rod holders. I would say this is a great stabilizer for your rod, but I don't know if I would say it necessarily holds it in place. So do keep in mind, if you are someone that is fishing for any type of fish really, but maybe your gear is more on the high end. If you're spending, you know, $100 to $200 on a rod, another $100 to $300 on a reel, I probably wouldn't spend $3 to $4 on a rod holder to keep that in place. So just keep that in mind. But this is a very light. It does glow in the dark. It has lots of really good positives that I do like on this rod holder. Okay, so that's the Fish and Sticks extendable rod holder there. Moving on, we have the South Bend folding rod holder. Now this is a really cool build that they made here. It's foldable, collapsible, whichever term you want to use. And I do really like this rod holder. I like the build of it. Now there are some drawbacks, but before we get that, let's go ahead and throw this on the scale because I am kind of curious if it's heavier, lighter, or about the same. We are sitting at 4.5 ounces, so it's half an ounce heavier. So pretty small amount that you're probably not going to notice when you are carrying a pack. The thing that you will notice though, however, is the amount of space that this does take up. So if you're to kind of line these up side by side, maybe you can see that on the top down shot a little better, but they are much smaller. This is a much smaller carry than this guy right here. So keep that in mind when you are using these rod holders, you are packing them. If you are using something that is, while collapsible, it's still pretty wide. So you're not going to be able to get as many of these in as you would the Fish and Sticks. So keep that in mind. Now, that's one of the positives. Another positive, while this does not light up, you could also just get some glow-in-the-dark spray and spray all this down, but it is a caution orange, which I have come to enjoy. Now, there are the yellow ones that they make, but I find that the yellow blends in really well with the grass, whereas the orange seems to stand out a lot more. Now, some drawbacks to this rod holder is kind of what makes it kind of cool in a way, is that it's collapsible, but the part that I do not enjoy about this rod holder is just how easy and how reliant this rod holder is on just kind of one small screw. So if you guys can see that, that is just one very small piece that kind of holds this together. So you got a plastic to a certain type of metal with a spike at the end. Hopefully you guys can see that spike. And that's kind of what I was mentioning earlier. If you guys are fishing in an area that requires, you know, very narrow way to get your rod holder in, this is probably not the one for you. If there's rocks, shell, anything like that underneath the ground, this is going to be very difficult to get in, so keeping that in mind as well. And then last but not least, my least favorite part of this rod holder is just how easy and bendable this is. And now some of you guys may really love that flex. I hate this flex. I don't really like a whole lot of flex in any of my gear in general, but I mean, you can shape this rod holder to basically bend any way you want. And A, now your rod holder is crooked. It's B, compromised on the strength. And C, takes up more space. Keeping that in mind when you are using this, if you do catch a very large fish and you are someone who doesn't have a bait feeder or clicker, there's a good chance that this rod holder can snap. I have seen it done. I've had 3 of these. This is one that I try not to use as kind of just a backup rod holder, but my previous ones have all actually snapped on me. So I don't recommend this if you are fishing for fish over 20 pounds, because if you are someone that's not using a bait runner or clicker or any type of thing like that, there's a good chance that these could break and fail, and therefore you don't have a rod holder or probably your rod. Okay, so that is the South Bend, and this guy runs you at $8.70 on Amazon. Now, your final one, my favorite one, is going to be the Eagle Claw wire rod holder. Couple things with this rod holder: it doesn't collapse and it doesn't extend. This is a fixed rod holder. It does not move at all. Another thing to realize is that this is heavy. These are very heavy duty, with that being said, but they are not light. So if you are carrying 3 or 4 of these in your pack, A, you're going to notice it because of the amount of space that it does take because it is fixed, and then B, just the overall weight. So let's go ahead and take a look at how much this weighs. I mean, I'm going to guess around 14 ounces. Let's see where we're at. 15 and a half. So this weighs 15 and a half ounces. The South Bend was 4 and a half. And then the fishing sticks was 4 ounces. So this is by far your heaviest rod holder. But a couple things about this rod holder: it has a very small spike to fit in, so you do not need a whole lot of space. You guys can see that you do not need much space to be able to get this all the way deep into the ground. Another thing is, I've never had one of these break. I don't know if I've even witnessed someone breaking one of these. I've had these for 6 or 7 years. I've beaten them up, I've dropped them on everything, I've left them places, they've been flooded, they've been in salt water, and I've had zero issues with these rod holders. Now the price on these is $8, so it's still very much in that budget realm of a rod holder. I really don't have any negative things to say other than they take up a lot of space, and they do seem to get lost in my vision quite a bit. You wouldn't think that red would blend into the grass and weeds and stuff so well, but especially in the fall, these blend in very, very well, and at night, they're very easily lost and forgotten. So make sure, one quick thing that you can do that I didn't mention earlier is you can spray paint this down. Paint it really any color that you want. You could do a glow in the dark, whatever you like, but that is probably the biggest drawback, is the weight and it being easy to get lost. So keep that in mind when you are purchasing this rod holder. If you are someone who things get lost on you quickly, or maybe you're a little careless with packing up, maybe it would be smart to go ahead and spray paint this down or put any type of color on it that you feel is going to stand out in any form or fashion. But one of my favorite features about this is how deep the rod can get into this. Now, all my butt of the rod holder is able to get in here, right? So it sits very well. So even if I do not have a clicker on here, if I don't have the bait feeder on there, I usually leave this in here because I use circle hooks for catfishing almost primarily. I let the fish basically hook itself and just let the fish take it down, and then I can pull it out of the rod holder. But I'm at a point now where I don't doubt the strength of this rod holder. It has zero flex, zero bend, which I love. Maybe a little if you freaking try real hard, but and just how small that is to get into the ground. I can get these rod holders in a lot of spots that I can never get any type of spike, and there's those beach ones as well. Any type of rocky area, I can't get those spikes in, and these are the rod holder of choice for me. So, scale of 1 to 10, or we can go bluegill to alligator gar. I'm probably going to be using this guy more for ponds, creeks, maybe even lakes, but I'm going to keep it pretty specific to smaller catfish, or making sure that I'm using a bait feeder on here so that my rod doesn't rely solely on this little fork to get the job done. The South Bend, while it does have a really cool design, it's just pretty cheaply made. This is also very malleable. You can kind of shape this pretty easily, and they break a lot, and that's the last thing you want in a rod holder, especially if it's, you know, fishing for some bigger fish and you're using bigger gear and bigger tackle. You definitely don't want to lose that, which is why I personally always go with the Eagle Claw red spiral rod holder. Like I said, I would highly recommend spray painting it if you're someone who's fishing a lot at night. That would probably be a better, smarter option for you. But this thing is tried and true. I've been using them for years, and I have zero bad things to say about these rod holders. So if you guys did enjoy this video, you found it useful, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you guys have a rod holder that either A, you want me to take a look at, or B, that you recommend me to start using over, you know, something like this spiral Eagle Claw or the fork style rod holder. Like I said, these are all priced very well for budget friendly people that are just looking to get on the water. Maybe you are someone who loves the collapsible one and this is the one for you, and you want to prove to me why you like this one more. Do it. I would love to see it. All the links to these rod holders will be below, so if you do want to pick one of these up, the links will be below for that. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!